Hey everyone, Jake here and welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Investment News. PWCC just wrapped up their recent Pokemon card auction. Tons of different stuff were sold, and we're going to go over just some of the top stuff that were sold within the last auction, just to give you guys an idea for where some of the prices are right now. As well, we're going to touch on some subjects that I think are really cool, but no one seems to be discussing, which is whether you should go tall or wide with your Pokemon card collection. What does that mean? At the same time, is right now a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? What does it mean to be in a buyer's market and a seller's market? And when is it the right time for you to be buying? And when is it the right time for you to be selling? Starting off with the most expensive thing that was sold in the recent PWCC auction was a 2005 PSA 10 Gold Star Rayquaza, sold for $19,000. That was really interesting because it was the most expensive one sold in the auction, but it's not the most expensive PSA 10 Gold Star Rayquaza to be sold overall, and that's usually kind of normal. PWCC auctions tend to actually be some of the cheaper prices that you will find on PSA 10 Pokemon cards or really expensive Pokemon cards. And the reason for that is because PWCC tends to list like 300 auctions at the same time, and they all end within like 2 or 3 hours. It doesn't give you enough time to bid on everything. So if you're really smart, you can definitely snipe some pretty amazing Pokemon cards for incredibly cheap prices. I've done that in the past. This one sold for $19,000. There was another one sold for like $23,000 like 2 months ago. So not the most expensive one. The interesting thing about this is that within 2 or 3 hours of that Rayquaza being sold, another one was sold for 22,500 euros, also on eBay. And that is significantly more expensive than the one that went on it for the auction. 22,500 euros is 27,500 US dollars, which is $8,000 more than the one that was sold within like 2 or 3 hours ago. So you can really see how some of the money swings on these are just going around. People are just, I'm guessing someone just like didn't win the auction. Maybe they missed it and they really wanted the card. So they were fine with paying like an extra $8,000 to get like the next best choice. Crazy stuff. So that was really cool. Most of the Gold Star Rayquaza cards are off the market right now. You might see 2 or 3 on the market, but they're usually very damaged or low quality. We probably won't see another PSA 10 sold for quite a while. Some of the other more notable listings was also a Shadowless Charizard card that sold for $13,700. Very fair price for a Shadowless Charizard. Shadowless Charizard being right between, you know, first edition base and unlimited base. First edition base, you're going for 30 grand plus. Shadowless is around 10 grand or so, and base set is around, you know, a couple $100. So that's the range for Charizard cards. Charizard has a very wide range. You can go 30K all the way down to a couple $100 if you want a Charizard card. And they're all fairly similar. The only real difference is maybe like the first edition stamp, and really how important is that stamp to you. Some other stuff that were sold were some base set booster boxes. One sold for $8,700 and a second one sold for $8,200. Those are some incredible prices. Actually not the most expensive one sold recently. Base set booster boxes just a couple of months ago, around February, you might be able to find some for $4,000, $5,000. Right now, anything below 10 grand is probably considered reasonable prices. I'm seeing a lot of people asking for 10 grand plus, 12 grand, 13 grand for base set booster boxes. And that's incredible because base set booster boxes are rare, but they're not that rare. They're still very available. There's lots of people with them. First edition booster boxes, I can count like a handful of people that I know that own one. But base set booster boxes, there's tons of people that still own those. So really interesting to see such a huge increase. Some of the other listings that were sold were a Gold Star Latios and a Gold Star Latias. Both PSA 10, the Latios sold for $6,850 and the Latias sold for $6,600. And that all these auction listings are of course not including taxes and auction fees. So realistically, the buyer paid 7 grand each for these. So really expensive for the pair of cards. Latios and Latias are actually really popular. So I think that's an actually pretty good price for the two cards. And Gold Star cards in general are some of the more well sought after and expensive cards in the hobby. We're definitely going to talk about the subject of Gold Star cards in a later video, but today's subject is, of course, whether you should go tall in Pokemon or whether you should go wide. And different people will have different answer. It's kind of like a philosophy rather than a science. A little bit artsy, but in general, going wide means buying as variety of collectibles as you can get, like purchasing one of every set or purchasing PSA 10s of pretty much just about everything. And going tall is mean you might purchase 2 or 3 cards and you purchase like 10 or 20 of them rather than buying a bunch of different variety. And generally speaking, in investing, it's better to diversify. Diversify works very well in investing in general, but that's a little bit different when it comes to collectibles. Diversifying yourself definitely works in other stuff like stocks, bonds. If you are investing in stocks, definitely diversify. There's no questions about that. But with collectibles, I think it's important to understand that it's okay to go tall, and definitely it's okay to have your niche rather than buying every single Pokemon cards in existence. And that's just going to be a huge pain. You're not going to really be a specialist in any of the prices. You're not going to be fully understanding any of the things that you're purchasing. It's better to be an expert in something. So in Pokemon cards, maybe your specialty is Gold Star cards or first edition base set or Japanese promos, whatever it is, you got to like focus in on something. So in general, I think it's better to go tall rather than to go wide. One of the biggest mistakes that I made when I started my Pokemon card collecting journey was that I tried to purchase just about everything. Anything that I saw that was Pokemon card related, I just wanted it. I wanted that, I wanted this, get me some of those promo cards, get me some of those first edition cards, whatever it was, I wanted it. And you realize very quickly you didn't have enough understanding to really get a good deal on those cards or even know if you're buying correctly. So it's just better to find like 1 or 5 cards, like 1 to 5 cards that you really enjoy, and try to learn everything about those cards and try to find them for the right price. For the cards that I specialize in, like Pikachu promos, I know my prices. I know them in the back of my head. I can tell you what they are without even looking on recent auction listing. I just know. So as soon as a good deal pops up, I buy, because I've been researching it for months or years and I know what a good price for that card is. I don't have to do my research. If you're buying everything, you're not going to know what a good price is. You're going to be constantly looking up prices, and it's going to be an even bigger pain when you're trying to itemize your collection or figure out how much value your collection is. If you have 100 of one card, it's very easy to price rather than having 100 individual different cards. It's just way easier to do tall than wide. And it's totally okay to do wide because at the same time, it's just a more enjoyable aspect. There are tons of cards that I purchase and I know I'm not an expert in them, but I just wanted them and I'm not too worried about prices. And that's totally okay as well. And the second subject of today's video is, right now, is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? And what does exactly that means? How often does this happen? And when is it the right time for you to be buying and when is the right time for you to be selling? In general, for my buying philosophy, I think pretty much anytime you feel like buying, you can buy. Don't try to time the market. You're just gonna end up hating yourself because you're gonna have fear of missing out. You're gonna have all kinds of should I or couldn't I. You're gonna keep yourself up at night. Don't worry too much about when is the right time to buy. What more important is when is the right time to sell. Right now, I would say it is definitely a seller's market. And what that means is, who is the person that's dictating the deal? Is it the buyer or is it the seller? If the buyer is dictating the deal, then it's a buyer's market. And if the seller is dictating the deal, then it's the seller's market. So when it's at the buyer's market, that means prices are cheap relatively to what the item is, and people are picky. They're willing to wait, or they're willing to not bid. And maybe auctions are going unnoticed, or maybe no one's bidding, or there's very low bids. That is a buyer's market. the buyer has authority. They're willing to say, you know what, I don't want that item. If the buyer can say they don't want that item, they're willing to wait and find a cheaper one, then that is a buyer's market. Right now is a seller's market, and what that means is that sellers are dictating the price. Right now, seller can pretty much put Pokemon card items up for pretty much any price, and it's gonna sell eventually. I've seen so many offers for like base set booster packs, which used to be like $100, and right now they're going for $260. Some sellers are listing them for $300. And if you throw out an offer like, you know what, you want to sell me these for $200? They're saying no. They're saying, no, I don't need to sell these. I'll hold on to them until they reach the price point that I'm willing to sell them for. So that is why right now it's a seller's market. They're dictating the prices. The sellers can dictate the price. They can put it up for whatever they want. And if buyers aren't buying, then they're fine with that. So that's why it's a seller's market. For the last 2 years or so, I would say it's been pretty much a buyer's market. You could pretty much take your time and just find the right deal for you. Auctions were constantly going up, and there was plenty of stuff around that you could find the right prices. So if you didn't find the item that you wanted for the right price, you could probably wait 2 or 3 weeks and find the right item for 10 to 20% off. Now is not that time. Right now, prices are actually going up. So if you see an auction right now for $100, next week is probably going to go for $110, and it's just going up and up. So it is not the right time to be dictating prices, but if you still want to purchase some cards, you can always do that. Don't try to go crazy with timing the market. Alright guys, that's the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Do you agree with my understanding of whether you should go tall or wide? How does your Pokemon card collection look? Is that the kind of philosophy that you're going towards? And do you also agree that right now it's really a seller's market? Let me know down in the comments, and I'm totally happy to discuss it with you. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.